Greetings, fellow motorsport enthusiasts, and welcome to the latest round of, I'm just rambling, but round 10 of Bwoah Racing League. This is French GP, Le Castille, if you're feeling French enough. But we are here at Paul Ricard, and all drivers are excited to get on the grid and just go wheel to wheel. But before that, we have a little surprise for you. We are going to be doing a nice little paddock interview of sorts. It's a race preview, if you will. So I think without further delay, Sarthak's here as well, and we can just go ahead with our first participant. So we have Baby Shumi with us, the rookie of BRL Season 4. And hey, Shumi, what's up?
Hey, Roj.
So tell us, what are your first thoughts going right into the race?
Yeah, so like I said, I've had a bit of practice on this track since there was a week off, and that's the reason I chose to go TC off. Yeah, it's challenging, but better to start now than late.
Definitely. Do you have any particular strategy for the quali?
No.
Okay, just gonna wing it, I
Okay.
suppose.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. Well, you do have your teammate who's currently in P1, who's absolutely setting the track on fire. So,
Yep.
do you have any strategies with him going into the race today?
Yeah, I have a lot of takeaways that he gives, a lot of tips when we're on the track, that really helps.
Definitely. Well, looking forward to seeing you on track, and let's see how quali goes for you.
Yep.
And speaking of Baby Shumi's teammate, the fellow Haas driver, we have General Pepe, who's here, the current leader in the standings. So, how are you, Mr. General Pepe?
Hello. Very good, very good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Are you feeling confident about today?
Yeah, pretty much. Because France is like my favorite track, to be honest, on the calendar. Like one of my favorite tracks. So, yeah,
Oh, that's
feeling
great.
confident.
So, I guess qualifying is going to be a piece of cake for you.
No. To be honest, I don't know how many people will be qualifying on the softs, so that will be a real issue for me. But yeah, with a good track position, I can win the race. To be honest, I'm
Well,
very
yes,
confident.
we're hoping. Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
you might just not want to write the mediums off just yet because another fellow driver who's on the grid today, he has won a race on those mediums, and we'll be going over to him very soon. But something to think about, I suppose.
Obviously, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And speaking of the teammate that we mentioned, not the teammate, a rival, we have Freeze, team principal and team driver of Mercedes Racing. Well, Freeze, what are your thoughts for the race given how it went for you last season?
Oh yeah, hello by the way. So considering how things happened last season, I'm actually pretty confident coming to this race. Firstly, keeping in mind I have a series of bad luck. I hope this is the race where everything turns around.
Yeah,
And going
definitely.
and me going with traction control off, so it's a good sign for me as well that I'm improving as a driver. So I can give competition to Pepe and all these people later on in the season.
For sure. You have some sort of Murphy's Law going around with you. And I think it started all the way back in China. But here's hoping that the race where you won last year is maybe, the turnaround that you were expecting.
Yeah, it was all part of the plan. I just made sure everybody looks down at me and then, coming at them after, making them. I was like gaining speed and making sure that I will, get a good position now. So it's all part of a plan. Don't worry about it.
Okay, sneak attack incoming. The rest of BRL grid better watch out.
I'm curious. Freeze, last time around we saw you pull off one 22 lap stint on the mediums. You coming into this race once again trying to do something similar?
Well, that's not going to be the plan for sure because this is not realistic performance anymore. So if I pull off a 22 lap stint, trust me, I'll not be in the points. Even though I'm like P1, I won't be in the points at the end.
Yep.
So it's going to be a very realistic race where I'm not going for a normal strategy, no fancy calls, unless there is some, unexpected turn of events.
All right.
But yeah, it's going to be a fun race for sure.
Brilliant.
For sure. And Sarthak, you might want to take over our next person in line, our very favorite, actually, our championship favorite, Mr. Gods.
I mean, I keep telling this to him every time we're on call, apart from during the race itself. But yeah, Gouts, going into the race itself, I know you've been practicing real hard. You've been trying to beat your own time, a bunch of the others in the league's time as well. Thoughts on where you might end up in quali for starters?
First of all, hey, what's up? And yeah, so quali, I'm not really sure where I would end up because, again, like Pete mentioned earlier, everybody would really probably be doing quali on different sets of tires. For instance, some might be on the softs, some might be on the mediums. So I'm not sure yet what strategy I'm going to be using today. I'm still in a dilemma about that. But yeah, obviously, as always, hoping to quali high. Hoping that will make a difference because, well, I usually don't quali very high. So, hoping to quali high today and hoping to get a good result.
Brilliant. Moving on to Rocket Man, another individual who has outbursts of good performances but tends to have a bit of bad luck on and off. Rocket Man, going into this race, are you hoping for that top 5 finish this time around?
Hello. Yeah, so no, we didn't really have much practice as a team on this track. We had academics coming up next week, so we didn't have much practice. But today, it's still we are just giving it a shot, and we'll see how it goes. If it might end up good, it might end up bad. We don't know, but it's going to be a fun race for sure.
And I'm assuming you wrapped up your Breakfast of Champions as well as worrying.
No, I just had chocos, and now I'm worrying. So
Okay. All right. Cool. Moving on then, I see UK with us as well. UK, you've had issues with the game itself beyond all of our control, to be honest. Going into this race, objectives and realistic goals.
Trying to finish the race, hopefully. Staying clear from any chaos happening in front. Because I don't know, as Carrie said, as Pepe said, people might be, putting their quality times on different sets. So there'll be a mix of the grid. So let's see. We'll have to, after coming from a 2 week break, I think much needed break. I think I have at least a podium in sights, but let's see what happens.
All right, good luck to you. And I'm just curious to know, will we see C2RC18 out on track today?
No, today McLaren only I'm there.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Yeah, UK is going to be a one-man army today, and it's like no holds barred.
Yep. Hoping for a brilliant performance from UK like we often see. Moving on, I see Vix356 with us. Someone who we've seen in the past couple of races at least pull off some amazing stints. Vix, going into this race, are you confident we'll see a similar showing of Canada?
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yep.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, Sarthak. I think Canada had a good amount of practice coming into this race, not so much. So, but there are a lot of open spaces, so shouldn't be a DNF. Looking forward to a competitive race. Let's see. Maybe, hopefully, a top 10 would be a good race for us.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Good to hear. Looking forward to see you out there on track. We've got our last season's podium finisher with us in the VC, Big Man Joe. How close are you going to come for another podium finish this time around as well, Big Man Joe? And from what we heard from Rocket Man, you haven't had much practice, so how much will that affect the race itself?
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't supposed to show up today and the next week because I've been busy with all my projects and exams and stuff. So I just opened up the game today. So we'll see. Basically, I'll try to just capitalize on what I can during the race and see how it goes. I think podium and top 5 is a bit too much to ask because I think a lot of these guys have been practicing for a very long time. I think Friday and Saturday, all of them had a practice race as well. So it'll be too arrogant of me to say I can come in the podium, but let me see. I'll do what I can in the race and see how it goes. Yeah.
But practice never stopped you before. Either ways, going going straight to the last person in the VC, who's Mr. Vex. Correct me if I'm wrong if Ruth spoke to you already, but Vex, curious to know, going into the race, what's the game plan over at Renault? Avi and you.
Well, first of all, bonjour. Feeling a little French today, as Ruth said. Yes, after a week gap, I feel even I've been working out a lot, like with my companies and so and so stuff. Opened the game yesterday, so not a little more, not so much of practice. Might hope to finish in points today. Hoping. Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Great.
Well, we do have two more, actually three more, like special appearances, and one of them is the team principal of the current leading team. We have Prophecy here with us, who might have a lot more to say. How are you doing, Prophecy, and how excited are you for today's race?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait. I think we have a pretty solid plan going into it, so let's see how it goes.
All right, sweet and simple. We spoke to both of your drivers today. They seem to be in positive spirits.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the lead, it's always nice to have like this room to work with, especially with Gary. So yeah.
Yeah, but there is someone who is like currently breathing down Carrie's neck, and General Pepe has to watch out for the man in action, KDB. So thank you, Prophecy. And KDB, what do you think of Haas's chances and your challenge that you'll mount on them?
Oh man, hey guys, first of all, so yeah, it's going to be very difficult. Carrie just told, I don't know, it was Carrie's favorite track, so I'm kind of scared for what's going to happen. Strategy is going to be, I think, the most important thing that decides the race between the two of us today. So I am still not sure on what strategy I pick. It'll depend on what tires everybody chooses in qualifying. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting, this race. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, tires will play a big role, and given the length and nature of the track, I guess your set will matter a lot too. But all the best, and let's see some front wheel-to-wheel action very soon. And thank you. And last but not least, we have Accelerate, the standout performer of last season, and he will definitely be looking to mount a challenge to the front runners. Accelerate, any thoughts going into the race? I'm not sure if Accelerate can hear us. Yes.
Yeah, dude. I just hope I don't get any time penalties, which is very cruel in this track.
Definitely. But hoping for a positive poly, like something about your qualifying pace, maybe you will be able to turn things around.
Hopefully, depending on where everyone's starting, I think a lot of people might be preferring to start on the mediums. That is actually a good strat if you want to go one stop, but it really depends on what others are doing.
For sure. Well, we'll let you get prepared for the French GP, and let's hope that Carrie's favorite track, General Pepe's favorite track, is a bit kinder to the others as well. But thank you. Over to you, Sarthak. What have you got in store for today?
Yeah, right before we go, I'm curious to just talk to you about what might come first, a safety car or a possible abundance of time penalties. Sorry, not time penalties. In fact, possibly a car or two retiring out on track, because most of the drivers actually really think that's close to impossible this race. What do you think, Ruds?
I definitely don't think that a safety car will make its appearance so soon, because the track is pretty open. I would say it's like a playground of sorts. And I've had a few good evenings just having no rules races around France. It's just too open, and I don't think that we will see such crashes. If any, maybe it would be driver-driver crashes on the main straight, perhaps. I think that's the most narrow section of the track. But other than that, it's going to be pretty chill for sure.
Yeah, and General Pepe mentioned himself that he seems very confident on this track. It's his favorite track, apparently. So could we possibly see a dominating race from General Pepe right off the bat? Or do you think KDB can actually put a fight for him?
Definitely possible. What I'm interested in knowing is if we will see some surprise podium finishers. There is a chance. And I have a feeling it's going to be someone none of us are expecting. I don't know why.
Let's hope so. It'll always be great to see a new face on the podium. But again, with Avi in the mix, he hasn't come by to talk to us either. I know for a fact he's been practicing quite a bit. But yeah, I think we might just see good performance coming out of the Renault team, both Vex and Avi. But nevertheless, we'll be back soon enough after a 3-minute break or so, and then we'll get into the qualifying itself. Hello everyone and welcome to Season 4 Bwoah Racing League race number 10, which is French GP. We'll head to Ricard circuit. Last time around we saw incredible VTE battles here on this track. 5.8 kilometers long, 2 in zone, about 27 laps of racing. Pretty wide and open track, a lot of runoff areas at first, so the likelihood of seeing a safety car is very less. And we spurred back last season where it was Toro Rosso sandwich. So did to RT18, but he managed to pass the lead car as well as the Toro Rosso right behind. So we went on to see the Toro Rosso so easily just a bit. Moving on, however, was unfortunate incident for the leader. While the UK going on at lap number 15 and a bit of a incident where he forced to appreciate that it quite bad about it. Angry he was about the fact that he was in place. A lot of banter after in our WhatsApp group, but moving on, of course, that race win that still stands as the only race win. We might not see him pulling off that 22 laps on the mediums this time around, but we can hope for a stellar race nonetheless. But of course, we jump straight to qualifying itself, and I've got Rud with me in the commentator's box as always.
Hey Sarthak, pleasure to be here. And what a banger of a race we have. I keep saying that for every single round, but it turns out to be true most of the time.
It does, doesn't it? And with the cloudy conditions, I'm forced to ask, do you think we could possibly see a bit of rain?
It is possible, although I think the conditions might just remain overcast throughout the qualifying at least. Race is another matter, but you can never rule this out.
True. Those of you who are watching, tuning in right about now, drop in the chat who you're here for, who do you think will come out on top. In qualifying for starters, we got 19 drivers out on track, one shy of 20, and I presume there's gonna be, oh, we do have 2 McLarens out on track. We got only Cuppy, I presume, is a McLaren as well.
Well, that is a weird predicament because only Cuppy is supposed to be driving for Williams and not McLaren.
Precisely. Let's stay on board Big Man Joe. Last time around, he was on the podium alongside Supreme Leader as well as Freeze. But this time around, as he mentioned in the paddock walk itself, coming into this race with a lack of practice itself, he doesn't want to be too optimistic and say he's going to get a podium, but he's going to give it his all.
Well, I am definitely expecting an Alfa Romeo masterclass today, and despite what Big Man Joe said, I definitely feel that he can at least push for a podium, if not getting one.
And talking about drivers who are in teams they don't usually race for, we see VPA filling in for Horning. And Sector 3 goes yellow. I wonder what went down there.
Seems to be a harmless track extension, but coming back to the point about VPA, that's his first tryst with some high-end machinery. I mean, we know that all the cars are equal spec, but still, it must feel really good to drive a Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And with a driver like Freeze as your teammate for this one, you have a very vital asset speaking to you in your ears. I'm pretty sure it'll be a good race. I think it'll be a learning experience for him this entire race, if he's open to it, that is.
Without a doubt. Although I am curious how these things will pan out given the track temperatures. We have a few changes. McLaren is the only team with just one driver for this weekend, and that's their team principal UK. So solo effort to get as many points for McLaren as possible. They seem to be stuck a little bit, but there's been steady progress.
Yep, indeed it has. And I brought up Setu RC18 in the paddock walk mainly because going back into last season, how strong he looked in the latter half of the season and how strong he looked in the first couple of races this season as well. If he actually turned up and I see a car sliding across my screen off track and I wonder which one that is. Hyrox24 gets a 5-place grid penalty in the process, so I'm assuming that's Shumi.
Well, yes, it is Baby Shumi. He's currently soaking in the blue strips we see at the hairpin right in the middle of Sector 3.
Back to on the note of Setu RC18, I think McLaren has a good shot at competing for the constructors itself if Setu RC18 manages to show up and perform at his best in the next races, pretty much all of the next couple of races.
Definitely, and we knew how strong the driver pairing of UK and Setu RC18 is. When they were in Haas in the last season, they both managed to win the race, and UK kind of made a meme saying that we are the only team where both the drivers have won a race. And there is no denying about Setu RC18's potential, but it's so far hasn't quite clicked this season, but there have been signs that show that he just needs the right time and a bit of luck.
Yep. And a bunch of times getting set out on track. Are we with the fastest? And as we were talking to each other, Ruds, I noticed the times only became better as drivers put them in. So not a single driver did worse than the one ahead of them. So clearly track evolution at play.
I definitely think so. And all of them are going out on softs. So the plan earlier that some teams might go for the medium tires might just not happen, because trust me, if you manage to qualify on the mediums, your pit stop strategy is pretty much non-existent. It's smooth sailing right from lap 1. But again, I think the competitiveness of the grid is causing the drivers to stick to the softs.
Had to take a short switch in on stream, but Sector 3 goes yellow. Are we with the fastest lap time? 1 minute 29.535. That time is surely to be beaten soon enough. Gauts is the second fastest lap time out there, with 9 drivers having set a lap time already. 12 minutes left to short qualifying.
Yep, and since you mentioned Gauts, he seems to be going off track a lot. I don't know if he's trying to race like it's a no rules lobby, but I clearly don't know what to make of it. It looks like an in-lap, an out-lap, and a flying lap all at the same time.
Yep. And okay, that's a lot of. I think these are the parts where we're pretty happy that this isn't as close to real F1. But yep, he's going crazy out there, isn't he? Gauts.
Feeling Gauts might not even break.
Oh
yes,
no,
he's
going to go again. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's just having a Panterino for time right now.
Yep. And I think, that reminded me of Vettel in Italy last season. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, yes. I think that Ferrari is clearly not a fan of the styrofoam blocks.
Yeah. Yep. Clearly. We'll come back to Gauts soon enough. Let's jump to Gamler. He set the 4th fastest lap time so far. We saw him get points in the Williams, where he was actually going in as a reserve driver. We haven't seen him get those points for his own team in Red Bull. And I'm pretty sure SV will be hoping for some sort of result from him this time around.
I would definitely like to think so. And it's I think something similar to Setu RC18. We have seen flashes of brilliance, but it's the consistency that he lacks. And Gamler is a little bit on the aggressive side when it comes to driving, if you get what I'm saying. And I think it's the risks and the harsh punishment that he faces when he makes those mistakes or those moves is what costs him those crucial seconds and crucial positions.
Mr. West just got out of the pits for his outlap. Meanwhile, Baby Shumi on a fast lap. Curious to see how much he'll improve compared to the last couple of races, and will he be able to set a time a bit closer to his teammate?
Yeah, and as we interviewed him during the race preview, he did mention that he has a lot to learn from General Pepe, and it's not easy having a teammate who's P1. Just look at Valtteri Bottas and how he has struggled season after season in front of Lewis, but it's both a deterrent and a motivator, and I guess for Baby Shumi it has been a lot of motivation. You can see him improving every race. Look at the way he was in Australia, and then look how he performed in round 9. So there is definitely progress, and I would like to say that Baby Shumi's rookie year, given his place on the grid and given the machinery, even though it's equal spec, he's kind of had a really good season so far.
Decent enough, but I'm sure he would have hoped for better results. I mean, you've got a teammate who's, punching incredibly here in this league, winning races. He's won the most races this season. He looks like he's set to beat the all-time race win record in the league, set by Big Manjo. But anyway, as he comes across the line, his time puts him 6th fastest, a fairly decent time. 1 minute 31.057, and looks like Hyrox has retired from the session. Now I wonder if that was in the pits or out on track.
I would like to think it's in the pits because I don't see the white dot on the map anywhere.
Ooh.
So it's most likely a voluntary retirement, maybe.
Meanwhile, as we say that, and as Baby Shumi wrapped up his lap, his teammate had an unfortunate spin in sector 2. We'll be nursing the car, I'm sure.
Yeah, just need to get that back to the pit stop and have one more go.
He's lost parts of his front wing as well, so unfortunate for him. Shouldn't put him off for quite long. He should be out and about soon enough for another lap time.
Yeah, and since you mentioned General Pepe and his race win record, I think it's funny to say that General Pepe is technically a rookie in BRL.
Indeed it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's more hilarious than it is interesting because for a rookie to be dominating this way, I don't think you get to hear the likes of such statements in racing. Unless you lose Hamilton, of course, but then you need a Kimi Raikkonen to stop them,
Clearly,
I'm sure Sarthak will be happy with that statement.
Yeah. Kimi Raikkonen. I mean, let's be honest. Every one of us in the league, I'd like to believe, are huge fans of the man. I mean, this is called the Bwoah Racing League.
For a reason, and a good reason.
Indeed. I'm curious to see. Mr. Wex has been coming out and just going around the track for a lap or so and then going back into the pits. I'm trying to understand what's his game plan here.
It definitely seems to be confusing because his teammate is P1, so it's not like the Renaults don't have that oomph you need. If some of our viewers may not know, even though the cars are equal performance, the car's chassis, the design itself can contribute a little to the car's handling and overall feel. Some cars feel better than the others while driving, but based on that, if the Renault is P1, that definitely means that Mr. Wex should definitely be in the top 10, if not the top 5. So him gauging the track out does not make a lot of sense.
Meanwhile, his teammate sits pretty with the fastest lap time out there, 1 minute 29.535. That's the time to beat if anyone wants to start right in front in pole position. He set those on the mediums, I presume?
Well, it looks like all the times so far are on the softs. None of them have setting times on the mediums.
Right. Yep, which means he's gonna fancy an outing on the medium soon enough, Avi, as he's got a fitted on and he sits in the pits. RB Ferrell out on track. We've seen this incredible driver just perform to his max potential, pull off some incredible podiums, bring home some incredible points for the team itself. He'll be hoping to do one better and possibly compete for the win this time around, I'm sure.
I would like to think that, and him going out on the mediums for his debut lap, his first time, speaks about the confidence he has. Rasinesh has been pretty vocal about the faith he has in RB Ferrello, and it's showing. As a side note, it's not just him who's out on the mediums, Sarthak. General Pepe is also trying for the mediums, Avi is trying for the mediums, and Freeze is trying for the mediums.
All competitive individuals in the league. We see them running in the front of the pack more often than at the back. But Freeze, he mentioned it himself, that long area of bad luck needs to end. And hopefully it does here on the track he's won a race at.
Yep, and I think this time the pressure is going to be a little bit more on him because Honing is not here. to help score some points for the Mercedes. And while VPA definitely is a good stand-in and can do a decent job, Fries will be feeling a little bit more pressure than when he's with Horning.
Quite the team they aren't they? Fries and Horning.
For sure.
Probably we can sneak into their voice channel every now and then. Now, probably next race, whenever that is, that we see the pair in the VC. I'm curious to see how their comms work. Maybe we won't be able to stream it, but for our own view.
Yeah, but RB Ferrello goes P6, by the way. And those mediums seem to be doing a decent job. He's only 9/10 behind Avi, who's on the softs. The time.
Brilliant. I'm still a bit shook to see both the Ferraris right on top, Gouts and Vic 356. But then again, not many folks have been out on track and have been setting lap times. Still, Mr. Wex, however, is finally on a fast lap. I'd like to assume. Locks up the front right a bit as he goes through sector 3. Should be able to set a lap time decent enough to put him in the top 5. And yes, it does. P4, fourth fastest for now.
I wonder if we might see someone in the top 3 entirely on mediums, you know? Because RB Ferrello now he's P8. He was P6 at a point, but General Pepe will be setting a time on the mediums. Fries was about to set a time on the mediums, but I don't know what happened to that. I guess soft is the way to go for today at least. And the track will be cool for sure because it's overcast, so might as well take a gamble.
Perhaps. So Avi has invalidated his lap, so he won't be able to better that time. He'll be looking to soon enough, I'm sure. With 2 minutes left into short qualifying, it's about time those 4 drivers who haven't set a lap time yet come out and do just that. Because we got the likes of Fries, Rustinish, Accelerate and UK. All 4 drivers race winners in the BRL. So hoping to see good lap times out of all 4.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised seeing that these 4 drivers are the ones who have not set a time. UK and Accelerate seem to be on their hot laps. UK has just entered sector 3. I hope that's a good time to set because he will not get another lap, I think.
Sector 3 goes penultimate corner, left-hander and into a right-hander. I'm curious to see. The time looks optimistic. I'm gonna say top 10 for sure. Top 5 highly unlikely. But let's see as he crosses the finish line. Goes third fastest. Incredible. Prove me wrong. Brilliant there by UK.
Well, there's my wish fulfilled. Seeing a mediums in the top 3.
For now, with just under a minute left. Purple sector 2 by Gouts. And now
Gouts is a different beast today. He really, when he said that he will practice France, I think he actually practiced France and not the French GP only.
Just might have. As he goes to sector 3. I just wonder.
Mind you, he's on the softs though.
Yep. He could possibly snatch pole, but would that be a long shot? He comes around the corner. He was a bit slower than UK, but how quick? Goes fastest so far. But we've got almost 3/4 of the grid out there setting a fast lap time of their own, and he starts one of his own. Gouts. We got Avi going to sector 3 as well, but fastest lap time currently out there 1 minute 29.025, and that is the end of qualifying. Mr. Wex won't be able to set a lap time.
5 tenths ahead of Avi, Sarthak. That's just for reference. That's a stonking lap if I've seen one.
Could he possibly be saying to himself, okay Gouts, we can do our best in the race, let's get this pole we need. We haven't been on pole position in the league ever till date, and possibly we could see him stay on pole. But UK on a fast lap, okay, he goes wide, so clearly he's not trying to set a quicker lap time. Baby Shumi completely come to a halt even on track, so he's not saying a lap time. General Pepe just said a lap time, 6th fastest. What do you think about that, Ruds?
That's a difficult one to call, but given that it's on the mediums, I am not too flustered. It's definitely a good starting position to be in given those tires. Alvi Ferrello as well for that matter. P10 is not at all bad given you're on the mediums. Big Man Joe on the mediums as well, P7. So that's incredibly good.
More lap times coming through. Rocketman still on a fast lap out there as he goes through sector 3. I won't be too surprised if he can put this car in the top 10 to start. KDB out on a fast lap as well. As he comes across the final car, oh, he has invalidated his lap time. We got D'Avocado in the racing point as well. And he said his best lap time as well. And with Rocketman coming across the finish line, he's going to be starting P13, which means, yes, folks, it's Gouts. Gouts gets pole position at race number 10 of Bwoah Racing League Season 4. What a qualifying that was.
I think KDB is still remaining to set his fast lap. But he seems to be going quick on Sector 1. I don't know if the game has ended his window.
Yeah, but on my scene it says it's given KDB the checkered flag, so I assume it's done. But given
the
way this...
And I get it now.
It has a bit of contact there between KDB and an Alfa Romeo for the last engagement.
Also, may I point out, Sarthak, that the Ferrari is qualified P1 and P4. The Ferrari is looking incredibly quick at France.
Brilliant stuff by both of them. And I mean, the top 10 looks quite strong, and the likes of Mr. Vex, Baby Shumi, Gambler, and Only Copy also starting in on the sauce. But of course, curious to know how Big Man Joe, General Pepe, and UK in the top 10 on mediums will do.
The Ferrari and Renault seem to be the strongest teams, so I definitely expect them to put up a good show. But UK is the wild card, I can say maybe, and he will definitely try to get the first position going into turn 1.
I'm sure. Looks like he's set for a good race. Unfortunately for KDB, he'll be starting P15, way off of his drivers who he competes with on a weekend basis, the likes of General Pepe and UK. They've put their cars in the top 10, and looks like a bit of overcast during the race as well, Roots. So would I be too audacious to say slight rain in the last couple of laps?
As much as we'd love that, I don't think it will be happening.
Yeah.
But this seems to be a recurring theme. I remember very well that last season's French GP was also overcast to quite an extent. And just when people thought that it might start raining in the last 2 laps, they all decided to stick to their tires, which is what led to Freeze's 22-lap medium strategy. But I think we might not see rain. It's just going to be a bit gloomy and dark, which looks fine. It's easy on the eyes.
Yeah. Any predictions right before the start of the race, Rids?
As much as I would love to say that Gods is the race winner, I definitely feel that he will at least fight for a podium place. As long as they don't mess their strategy up, which I know it's the virtual Ferrari, but you can never be too optimistic.
True that. And yeah, congrats to Grouts for that first pole position. I'm pretty sure he'll have a smile on his face going into the race itself, but the job's barely even half done. Hopefully we see him on the podium. With starting off on the softs. Hopefully turn 1 is clear. He can't use that infamous strategy of his of backing off and letting everyone do their stuff on the race start. So I'm curious to see how he handles this.
This time he's not the one attacking, but in fact defending.
Yep, exactly. And I'm really on the edge of my seat here. Let's go. Formation lap for now, as the drivers take a lap around the circuit itself. Before the race start, they'll be heating up their tires, planning out stuff with their teammates as well, strategies, possible instances throughout the race they might have to encounter, and the Gouts has Avi to worry about right behind.
Yeah, it's not easy defending, and it's certainly not easy defending when you have someone like Avi at the back. Avi has been known to push pretty aggressively, and I don't know if Gotts is just going to give way or make Avi earn that position. But Goss is on the softs. That's going to last around 9 laps. Same for Avi. While the mediums will last 15 laps almost. So UK will have 6 more laps of his first stint compared to the other two. So I would definitely expect UK to be fighting for the win more than anyone else.
But all eyes on Gods as he's set for his first race start from the front of the pack. Rocketman out on the hards, Ruds.
I guess that could work as well. The hards will take you to 19 laps and 20 laps if you are, kind enough. If you nurse those tires, if you're romantic to the tires, okay, maybe we're approaching creepy motorsport territory. But if you are that good to your tires, the hards are actually a good choice for France. And just take this for consideration. You have 27 laps. You're in your hards. You finish 19. You take the softs, which last exactly 8 laps, and done. You pulled off a brilliant one pit stop strategy.
Which means he'll be hoping for a very clean race. He'd want that. So the start of a clean race is of course the start of the race itself. So if he can get through turn 1 and the first sector itself without any kind of incident, we could possibly see Rocketman having a fairly decent race today.
Yep.
Yeah. Alright, as they line up on the grid itself, I think a bunch of the drivers at the back taking their own sweet time, and one of them, of course, is General Pepe.
Yep, and that's been a recurring strategy of his to, let the others take the grid positions, cool their tires that they spent so hard heating up. While Avi is on the opposite side of the spectrum, he was just leading Gods on a formation lap. So maybe it's some psychological war games with the mind to show Gods that, yeah, I'm watching you. You should be watching my rear. Could be.
Possibly. But as we stand, we'll be set for race start soon enough as the final lights go out. Gouts on pole position today. And the lights go out and the drivers shoot down the main straight. Gus looks like he's got a promising start. Avi seems like he's on the back foot. As we stay on board, everything looks clean and fine, but around the outside he goes Avi and seems like a disconnection of Gouts' part. Seems like he's gone off track a bit as well, and right behind both the Renaults looking strong. Avi's taking the race lead as well. Bit of issues coming through with the game as always, but beyond our control. And Vex has contact with Gouts, and Gouts has spun. It went from great to absolute worst for Gouts.
He must be heartbroken. That was a completely unnecessary move from Vex.
An incident with UK as well. Mr. Vex, he sent 2 of the drivers spinning, and I just wonder if it's the game's fault and not his, but we've got a Renault 1 and 2 currently, folks. It's Avi and Mr. Vex in the front of the pack, and a hungry General Pepe right behind.
Oh, I am definitely expecting some fights to happen with Mr. Vex after the race, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Yep. Meanwhile, Vixty56 trying to make up for what his teammate lost out on. Vixty56 taking that fight to Ferrello. Oh, Ferrello, however, climbing position after position. He's running P4 currently.
It's a shame for Gods. Look at him down there in P17 for something which he was completely faultless.
Unfortunate for him. KDB up at a P5. I mean, could things go better for these drivers such as KDB and RB Ferrello?
If you look at it, General Pepe, RB Ferrello, Rusty Nish and Accelerate are all on the mediums and they are in the top 10. I was expecting UK to be there, but unfortunately, yeah, things didn't go quite as planned.
And KDB with the fastest lap time so far. He's on the tail of RB Ferrello. He's hungry for positions because he knows his fight is with General Pepe.
I would suggest his fight is more with Avi because they will be on similar tire strategies. And General Pepe will have the benefit of pulling a one-stopper while KDB might have to settle for a two-stopper.
He's peeking down the inside as well of RB Ferrello, unable to get the move done. We've seen Ferrello get fended off by Vixty56, probably learned a thing or two, but KDB pulls to the left and should get it done. For now,
he is on the quicker tires, so that should definitely help.
A steaming engine for now. KDB still on track. I almost saw the car go off track. Big Man Joe losing positions, however. Running P10 wheel to wheel with the Mercedes, and looks like there was a bit of contact between Freeze and Big Man Joe, and he's lost another position.
UK seems to have overtaken Big Man Joe as well, and that is precisely what he needs to do. He's on the mediums. He will not have the pace that the other drivers have, and he has to catch up quite a bit.
He has to try around the outside, however. Let's jump straight to the front of the pack. Mr. Vex has General Pepe on his gearbox.
Look at the lead Avi has built. He's 5 seconds, he's almost 6 seconds ahead of Mr. Vex. I wonder if that was Mr. Vex's strategy, like all or nothing.
Possibly. But Pepe gets that move done, and right behind him, KDB taking the fight to Mr. Vex as well. I think KDB would want to get the race lead sooner than later because, like I said, he wants to stay ahead of General Pepe. He'd want to stay ahead of General Pepe if he wants to have a shot at winning that driver's title this season.
It looks to be a Mercedes there, Sarthak. Sorry to cut you off. I think that's VPA who has spun. Yeah, he did.
Seems to have rejoined the track and is running well, but P16, so unfortunate for him. Meanwhile, up ahead, Vex, KDB, General Pepe, that's where all our eyes are at, because General Pepe fending off a real strong KDB and Vex.
And I wonder if you noticed, but Wix seems to be in P18 out of everyone. Maybe he had a damaged wing, but oh, yep, he seems to have spun again. Yes, there was yellow flag at the turn. I wonder what went wrong with him. And KDB and Gots with 3-second time penalties each already, and we're just on lap 3.
That's not something you would want to rack up if you're fighting for position in the front of the pack, KDB. But then again, back to the Ferrari drivers, Gots and Vic 356. They've had a race which seemed like it was going to be a brilliant one, but as I mentioned, Sector 1 wasn't clean enough for them.
Surprisingly pretty, like, cleanly through up until turn 4, I would suppose. It's at turn 4 where things went wrong. I think Vex just went with a very risky dive bomb and did not pay out. He just spun Gots around, and that was carnage that ensued.
And with the time penalty racked up, as well as General Pepe fending off KDB the way he is right now, General Pepe should be happy about it considering he's on the mediums. But KDB will get that position considering he is on the softs. Question is, will he lose the position to Ferrello and will General Pepe lose the position to Ferrello and Vex as well?
I think General Pepe versus Ferrello is the fight to watch out for, because Avi and KDB will pit in mostly another 5 laps, but General Pepe and RB Ferrello are playing the long game, so whoever comes out on top has the best chance at winning the race today.
Meanwhile, running in P13 is Big Man Joe, and seems like, okay, he's lost an end plate, just an end plate, and there was contact as well, and now he's lost part of his front wing for sure as he goes incredibly wide there. Yep, he has. In the first lap, it seemed like everything played into his hands, but after that small incident with Freeze, he's just tumbled down the order, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's a 2-stopper confirmed. You cannot drive like that. Sadly, his medium strategy did not work out, and he will have to pit. Or not. He has decided to continue.
Has he now? Alright, probably a lap or 2 at best. With a wing like that, you can't hope for much. With Rocketman running right behind, that should play into his favor, but I don't see it playing into his favor for long. Meanwhile, Gambler making his climb passes D Avocado, but he's got time penalties to worry about. And so has Gots in UK, surprisingly enough.
UK has had a decent climb. P10 is nothing wrong. So it's interesting to see that he has had a considerable gap of sorts.
Meanwhile, only Kapi has made the pass on Accelerate. We've just not been able to see.
That's another topic, Sarthak. Only Kapi racing for McLaren when he should be racing for Williams.
Exactly.
Will we see his points get transferred to Williams if he scores any? I don't know.
And this is where I'm curious to know, because Williams is not out on track. So I'm curious if only Kapi picked the wrong car in the lobby.
Well, Harry Rocks was present in the lobby and he is currently P19. He had to make a pit stop right now. Only Kapi was in the lobby, but he did not select a car, so the game just gave him one.
Alright, that makes a lot of sense. Now, KDB sets a fast lap time, 1 minute 33.396. A lot of threes in that time.
It would have been even sweeter if KDB was P3, you know? That seals the deal.
Where General Pepe just doing what he should be. Double pits, 2 cars in the pits. That is Gambler and Big Man Joe. Of course, we did predict Big Man Joe won't be out for long. And yes, he's decided to go into the pits. And I'm sure realistically now his goal will be to put the car in the points. But then again,
definitely
with 21 laps to go, anything's possible.
Yep, KDB just set the first sector purple, making his way through second sector with incredible pace. That's a green sector, but yeah. Showing good pace, but I wonder if he's pushing the tires too much and they might not last the entire 8 laps that the softs are supposed to.
From Avi's point of view, he wants to build a big enough gap to ensure that General Pepe is at least that much closer to him after he pits, right? But then again, with KDB trying to do a similar thing and trying to close that gap to Avi as well as much as he can on the softs, he's clearly taxing them as well.
Yeah, ideally he would want to be within 1 second of Avi so that even if they pit, then he could think of an undercut or overcut.
Precisely.
I would say that it makes sense to pit when Avi pits so that you have the maximum chance of gaining and you may even get some DRS on the way because you will be in the same pit window. General Pepe has been keeping KDB honest though because I did not sincerely expect General Pepe to keep up with KDB on those softs. He's just a second behind, so that's really good.
Meanwhile, Vex as well as Gouts has pitted. Gouts pits and comes out on the hards.
Okay, so that will be him trying for a one-stopper, but he might just fall short. I don't know. 21 laps on those hards. Well, we have seen crazier things happen right on this track, so I'm not gonna comment right now. I just hope it works out for him.
And possibly just might half a second to KDB now, General Pepe. And even closer now as KDB seems like he's slowed down quite a bit on the gearbox soon enough and should be able to get position as well, General Pepe.
General Pepe's onboard right now is pretty fascinating. I'm having a fun time watching it and I can clearly see KDB struggling with his tires. Yep, right as I said, so he pits. So does Avi. So that was the plan all along, to pit at the same time.
Which means General Pepe will take the lead of the race with the 2 Alpha Tauris right behind.
We spoke about Renault and Ferrari, but it's the Alpha Tauris who have come out on top and made the most of the carnage that was in lap 1. 6 laps on the softs though, that's pretty short but understandable given how much they were pushing.
And the other driver on the softs, only copy pits as well for Haas, which means none of the drivers out on track are on softs. We see the top 6 drivers out on 7-lap-old mediums and UK running P6. So possibly the fact that he is in the top 6, even after that incident, lap 1 should be something he's happy about.
I would like to say so, but I think what's more important is the gap. I think looking at the times, he's around 10-15 seconds away from the leader. Not terribly wrong, not terribly bad, but that's almost one entire pit stop. So he might want to reduce that gap to at least 8 to 9 seconds at least to be safe.
Meanwhile, right behind Mr. Wex jumps to position after pulling off a brilliant overtake on the avocado. The other racing point out on track coming in for Sicknig, and seems like he's got a disconnection.
I'd love to see Sicknig on this track. We know how he can be with his throttle, and he's not the one to shy away from a late braking zone or even in oversteer, and France is exactly the kind of track where Sicknick would shine.
Meanwhile, staying on board, Gambler, as he tries to dive down the inside of VPA and should be able to get the job done. Yes, he will. VPA kind of struggling in that Mercedes car, but should be able to take the fight soon enough. But Gambler looks like he is steaming at this point, even though on the hards.
Yeah, we can chalk that up to the lack of experience in the Mercedes, and more so in the fact lack of experience in general on the track, perhaps. And Gambler has taken a pretty nice liking to that Red Bull.
Like I mentioned before the race start, if he can pull off a points finish, that's the ideal of scenarios for the team itself. As KDB takes the fight to Avi, both losing a bit of grip in the rear. On the gearbox, seemed like there was a bit of contact, but he did pull to the left, KDB. Wheel to wheel as they go. The next corner is going to be an interesting one for sure, but he's ahead. KDB swings to the right just a bit and should have the position. He's running P7, but Avi still close enough.
It's absolutely vital for KDB to make as much distance as he can from Avi, because Avi is on the hards. That's pretty much his pit stop strategy done, whereas KDB, I think, will make one more stop.
Meanwhile, I've lost all times on my screen, Ruth. So if there's a fight going on wheel to wheel at any part of the track, make sure.
Well, we'll be approaching UK very soon. KDB is right there, and he also has a threat from Avi. So we're going to be seeing a three-way battle very soon on the start-finish straight.
Seems like Avi's a bit too far off for the three-way battle, but KDB for sure will try to swing, and he does towards the left and gets it done. KDB running P6 now on 2-lap old mediums, so clearly he'll be on a chase for the lead.
Those fresh mediums are doing him a world of good, and rightly so. Plus, he has the 3 seconds to worry about, so might as well get to P1 as fast as he can. Gots with 6 seconds of penalties, the only driver having more than 3 seconds. Harry Rocks with 11 seconds. So things are not looking good for Harry Rocks, and that might be his race over at this point.
Things are not looking good for UK either, as Avi swings the car to the left and gets a position of UK. Seems like there was contact twice. UK being incredibly aggressive with Avi, or is he possibly encountering some issues?
I think that was a late break, or maybe the tires are not providing enough grip. They will be approaching the 10-lap life very soon, and he still has to nurse those tires for 6 more laps. So yeah, anything can happen.
Up ahead, the two of the drivers who we saw go wheel to wheel very often last season around, Accelerate and KDB, fighting for P5.
Accelerate has done a pretty good job being a P5, given how his paddock interview went. He was not at all hopeful about today's race, but he seems to be doing fine for himself now.
And on the main straight, KDB gets another position, bags it,
smooth as butter.
Onwards he goes.
RB Ferrello and Racinish both have penalties now, Sarthak, so the Alpha Tauris have to be careful as well.
And look at Freeze, he's comfortably sitting P3 between two drivers who got penalties. At least for now, it looks pretty great for him. 4-second gap, 4.5-second gap to RB Ferrello.
Yep. And almost 11 seconds gap to General Pepe, who should be his main rival now. That they are the only clean drivers in the top 5. So he should try to capitalize on this opportunity as best as he can.
Meanwhile, it's disappointing to see the man who was in pole position getting slapped with time penalties and running P15, but it is what it is for Gouts as he runs on 4-lap old hards in P15.
That takes his tally to 9 seconds. That is so not what you expect, and he'll be gutted to not have made something out of this race.
After 10 laps out on the mediums, General Pepe has decided to pit.
So Freeze was right when he said that he cannot make another Paul Ricard come alive. The mediums are definitely not the way to go.
Now look at this.
At least this season.
And look at this, Rhodes. Freeze decides to stay out on track, but Rusty Nish has decided to pit. Ferrello takes the lead of the race with Freeze right behind. General Pepe comes out on a fresh set of hards.
I have a feeling that RB Ferrello and Rustinish have an agreement. Rustinish can obviously nurse his tires better, whereas RB Ferrello wants to go pure out on pace. So he will run those mediums for another lap so that he gets the fresher tires out of the two. That's some brilliant team call at play.
Meanwhile, staying in the top 10, Avi taking the fight Accelerate, who's on 11 lap old mediums just like the front runners are.
I wouldn't be too fussed about Accelerate because General Pepe on the fresh hards will definitely keep him at bay. It's Freeze who has to catch up 3.5 seconds to RB Ferrello now. He seems to be doing fine. Sector 1 yellow. This seems to be a Ferrari that has spun. And it was Wicks yet again.
Meanwhile, Avi gets the position off of Accelerate, but Accelerate still close enough. I just wonder we could see possibly more wheel-to-wheel action. Meanwhile, going down to the back of the pack, gaps are much more closer, aren't they? The likes of Gambler being on the tail of Vic C56.
I think these are the closest margins we've had in a race in a long time.
Usually we see a gap in the front of the pack extending for over 10 seconds, and as I say that, we see one extend like that. But a bit of glitch, of course, as Ferrello and Freeze dive into the pits. And
KDB is in the lead, just as you were about to say that.
Precisely. He's got General Pepe to worry about right behind. Now, yet again, will time penalties come into factor and actually affect KDB's race? It's a bit too early to say. It's still lap 13, so I reckon he'd want to make sure General Pepe gets pushed into making mistakes and racking up a bit of time penalties in the process as well.
I think that this time General Pepe is not afraid of KDB, so to say, because KDB will have to make another pit stop. Those mediums will not last him another 14-15 laps. He may be able to take those mediums to 15, but I don't expect him to go it all the way. Whereas General Pepe is pretty much done with his pit stops for today. So that's a 20-second buffer that General Pepe has over KDB, excluding the penalties that KDB has.
Meanwhile, jumping straight to only Cuppy, who's taking the fight to Rocketman. Late break by both the drivers, and there was contact, and he spun. Only Cuppy has spun and has been left without a fair fight, to be honest. I'm pretty sure that'll be reviewed post-race, but then again, we were on board only Cuppy, so it's too hard for us to say. I'm pretty sure TV pod view would have shown us better. To decide
but luckily there is no damage for only Cuppy, so he can keep going.
To decide whose fault it could have been, as Accelerate goes into the pits. Sector 3 goes yellow.
Seems to be an incident with Wicks yet again. Oh boy, the person who started P4 seems to be having some difficulties continuing the rest of the race.
Things are just going bad to worse for both the drivers from the in-game Ferrari team. But God's trying his best to take the fight to Big Man Joe. The Avocado sends it into the pits. Meanwhile,
I think this might be the 4th time Wicks has spun in a space of 10 laps.
Possibly. He's gone into the pits as well. He's going to come out on fresh set of mediums.
The gap at the top is starting to increase with Vex, the only person close enough to challenge for P5. He has Vex in front. He has Freeze in front of him, but not close enough.
While the midfield looks like we could see quite the battle, especially Accelerate, Big Man Joe and Guts, all within a second of each other almost. Sector 3 goes yellow yet again.
That just seems to be some slow-moving traffic. Harry Rocks 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. I think his penalties have exceeded 20. Oh, he's on 19 seconds. I just said 20, but he's on 19. Very close.
And it's
on 12 seconds.
And looks like Alfa Romeo has spun. Yes, it's Big Man Joe. as we stayed on board Accelerate, taking that position from his teammate. Unfortunate for big man Joe as well. He's back on track though.
This day keeps getting worse for the teams with red in their team colors.
KDB continues to lead this race. Biggest gap out on track, however, is between Rocket Man and Rusty Nish. That's P7 and P8. Closest to drivers out on track, of course, is Rusty Nish and Mr. Wex.
We're starting to see some divisions form. We have the first 7 people, then we have the next 7, 8 drivers, and then you have the back 3. Harry Rocks has retired. If I just said that his race might be over, he definitely must have felt the same way. And I think, to be on the safer side, I'm going to say that only Cuppy is the only hope for Williams now. But we might see some confusion happening after the race ends, won't we, Sarthak?
I'm sure we will. But as it stands, KDB leading this race. Just 4 drivers out on track on the mediums, one of them being KDB, Wex, Baby Show Me, and Vic356. Rocketman, however, on 14 lap hole hards and will be looking to extend that even more.
Yep, I think he can take those laps to lap 20. He is set for a good second stint on those reds, and the softs are going to be lightning quick because most of the fuel has already been used.
Yeah, but then again, now the question arises, we saw drivers use the softs only for 6 laps. By then it seemed like they were losing grip. So how much of a difference is that last lap going to make for Rocketman?
You also have to take into consideration that the 6 lap stints that they made with the soft tires was with a full fuel tank and traffic all around you. During the end, there will be some free spaces. You'll have less weight in the car, so your tires will be a little bit kinder, and maybe you can push that extra lap if you nurse those tires well.
Indeed. Hopefully, we see a brilliant stint by Rocketman. But that 17-second gap to Rusty Nish not looking great, as he's got only Cuppy to worry about right behind him. Wheel to wheel as they go. Last time around, only Cuppy spun at the same part of this track with the same driver as he went wheel to wheel with, but he gets it done this time around. Gets the position off. Rocketman will be glad he got through without so much of a
That was a fantastic move, by the way. Well calculated, well executed, well finished.
Meanwhile, up ahead, Rusty Nish taking the fight to Mr. Wex. Braking incredibly late as well. Staying on the gearbox, hoping to pull off a move on the main straight. And a move he will pull off indeed soon enough. He should have everything in his favor. DRS, slipstream. Folks, Rusty Nish, can you get it done? He's a 3 times racer now. You'd expect him to get it done sooner or later.
X is a pretty good defender when it comes to that. And I think Rusty Nish might be taking it safe because he knows what Wex has allegedly done in lap 1. We leave the rest to us. We're just here to allegedly talk about it.
Really unusual of Mr. Wex, may I say, because he's usually the one to be really careful, or as careful as he can be. But staying on board Rusty Nish, he puts to the left and should have the move done. Neatly done. Jumps into P6, and next up on his list is Freeze.
I think the last time Wex was this thrash was at the Hanoi circuit in Vietnam, round 3 if I'm not wrong. And that did cause quite a few issues. I think Avi was also someone who just went, like, almost literally yeeted into turn 1. But that might be a technical issue that I don't remember. But since then, Wex has been on the safer side, other than a few instances like the one in Barcelona. But today was pretty strange, and it ruined the pole sitters race.
Yeah, unfortunate for the pole sitter as well as UK. And as we go to UK, he's going wheel to wheel with our pole sitter, Gertz, and should be able to get the move done. Yes, he does. Climbs into P12, and next up is Gambler in his sights.
Yeah, he has to run those softs for just those hards for just 9 more laps, and he can definitely do that. So he just needs to make sure that he gets as high as he can.
Yeah. on the main straight, all three drivers should have a good chance of pulling off an overtake, of course, minus Gambler. Gouts should have what he needs. DRS, yes he does, but not close enough to UK. And it seems like it's a similar situation to that of Rusty Nish last lap around on Mr. Wex. Meanwhile, that gap between Mr. Wex and Onikapi has extended to 18 seconds.
It's interesting to see that Accelerate was just behind UK. So, are we already seeing back markers come into the picture?
Possibly, as Gouts should be able to lay break down into the inside. Yes, he does. Amazing how there was no contact between Gouts and UK there. He held it pretty well, Gouts. I mean, I can't say enough about him. Today he's showing off some brilliant skills. UK on the tail of Gambler. He'll be looking to get a position and staying away from Gouts all the more.
It's quite interesting to see that only the Haas team has stayed clean, and Accelerate is the only other driver to keep his nose clean during the race. Everybody else is on penalties of various intensities.
And the three drivers are yet again close enough for battle roads, and this time around Gouts looks like he's in a promising position. He's trying his best to go around the outside of UK, trying to go wheel to wheel because turn one's going to be crucial, and there was contact and he has crashed. Gouts has crashed, he's broken his front wing, and absolute disaster going into turn one there. There's contact between UK and Gouts as they went wheel to wheel, but I was looking forward for a good healthy battle between the two.
Now the question that I beg needs answering is, did Gods run into UK?
And
or
it's a
did
safety
UK shunt Gods?
The way it seemed on our screens, it almost seemed like UK was the cause of it. But then again, I just wonder if the game had anything to do with it as well. Safety car is out. And remember, folks, all the drivers said we may not see a safety car, but Rids, of course, kept the possibilities open with a car having an incident. And yes, we did have Gouts. Now, Gouts looks like how UK usually looks like without a front wing. And how much of a difference this is going to make throughout the field. Because KDB, from what I saw from the penalties, he's got a drive-through. Vix356 has retired from the session as well.
It's interesting that you said that UK could have been the cause for this, because on my screen it looked like UK was on his racing lane throughout. He did not move from his line, neither did Gotham, but I just felt that Gotham red-ended UK maybe and went spinning to the side.
No, they were wheel to wheel. I'm pretty sure that on my screen at least they were wheel to wheel. But then again, the stewards will have a look at it. And with the safety car out on track, I wonder how many drivers are smiling and how many are frowning. We see a bunch of them pitting and coming out on the softs. The order in the front hasn't changed as much. We still got General Pepe leading this race. He's racked up penalties in the process, Ruds, which means he's no longer one of the drivers who kept it clean. It's just Baby Shumi and Accelerate.
I have a feeling General Pepe made a mistake by not pitting. Maybe because if you look at all the drivers behind him, KDB's on the mediums. He decided to play it safe, and I respect that. KDB can absolutely annihilate those murders, those mediums. I went to say murders, but okay. I thought we'll be family friendly, so I chose annihilate, but I ended up saying murder anyway. But he can destroy those medium tires and still make it through, setting incredibly good laps. But then Avi and RB Ferrell are on the softs. That's no joke. And John Pepe on 8-lap-old hards. Oof. I don't expect the safety car restart to be good.
With 7 laps to go, Ruds, now I'm curious how much penalties the front runners have racked up, because Accelerate's gap will only reduce right now. And seems like the horse is migrating, which means KDB might have faced a disconnection.
It says here that KDB has been given a drive-through. Now, I feel this is definitely a glitch.
So the drive-through itself, Ruds, it popped up right after the safety car session began. Basically, the safety car window began. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll appeal it. He'll clearly mention that to the stewards, and it will go through a review itself. But as it stands, he's got to drive through.
So while we are waiting for the safety car procession to continue, do you want to hear something funny, Sarthak?
Go ahead, Ruds.
So we saw Wick's DNF, didn't we?
Yes.
It wasn't out of frustration. In fact, the Ferrari driver ended up rear-ending the safety car while it was parked on the side of the track and DNF'd.
Oh no. I can imagine how infuriated it might be. But KDB left the session. I think that clears up most of what's going to go down for the rest of this race. I don't know if that was out of frustration or beyond his control. No, he has rejoined. So clearly beyond his control. But General Pepe is still leading this race. He's racked up a penalty. Ruds, I'm curious to know, will that penalty be brought forward towards the stewards as well, or was that a fair penalty to be handed out?
I'm not quite sure how that will proceed because General Pepe has a 5-second penalty, V has 6 seconds, RB Ferrello 3 and Free 6. That will effectively make Accelerate the leader and net P1.
Can we know why General Pepe was handed that 5-second penalty?
I think it was something about a collision, but I can just quickly check the race director. It does not look like he did something of that sort.
Unusual. That's why I was curious if the team will appeal it, and which means with an absolute clean race, General Pepe seems like he's set for the win, as long as he can finish it, of course.
Well, he has received a couple of warnings for exceeding track limits, but there is nothing concrete to pin him down to that. I'm just searching for that penalty that he received, and it says severe collision with VPA, which gave him a 5-second penalty.
Unusual.
And VPA also got it.
VPA is a back marker, so I presume it will be removed. But as it stands, safety car still out on track. Now this is the part things get tricky. We might be announcing a different race winner after the race itself. But as it stands, General Pepe leading this race. Accelerate, having had a clean race so far, seems like he's set to win as well. But it's highly dependent on how much the time penalties stick on each of the drivers running in the top 4.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed out for KDB because his AI went through another pit stop while KDB was disconnected.
His AI and
that's
Dusty Nation's
put him at
AI
the
might
end.
be friends.
Definitely.
Driver who seemed to be competing for podium positions is now running dead last, and I don't even know what to say about Gouts, apart from the fact that he's showed that he's an absolute brilliant driver today. He's running P12, and we could possibly see him finish in the points if the next 5 laps play into his favor. He is within a second and will remain within a second of the front 2 drivers as well. It's a matter of when the safety car ends and when we will resume racing. Unusual of the safety car still being out on track with all debris cleared, but then again, with the game being beyond our control, anything's possible. Safety car in this lap, however, which means lap number 23, we will go racing.
I think the race control took it to their hearts, what you just said.
I'm glad they did, Ruth. I'm glad they did. At this point.
Speaking of taking things to the heart, since you said that Wix might be disappointed, it was the contrary. He said that he has outdone himself and seemed rather proud in a sad way.
I mean, the team itself, right? The such a roller coaster of race they've had today. Wix356 and Gouts, and going into the last five laps, hearing that from Wix356, I think he's looking at the more positive things to look at rather than the negative. I mean, he did qualify brilliantly in the front. His teammate did as well. I think he'd want to mimic similar performances going into the latter half of the season when we come back after that huge break we're going to take in a week's time. Meanwhile, as he comes across the final corner, General Pepe will restart this race. Seems like a huge gap he's got already, and the race is set to go as safety car goes in, and it's wheel to wheel between KDB, a backmarker, so shouldn't quite count for anything. Sector 3 goes yellow, as there could possibly be an incident at the back of the pack. Meanwhile, in the front, however, he's got a 2.5 second gap to Avi already. General Pepe looking mighty strong. He'll look to extend that gap even more, just so he can get that win out on track regardless of the penalties.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of coasting happening for the first 2 laps, I guess, because the back markers have kind of gotten stuck in the middle of the SC train. KDB being one of them. He was P2, but he's P16 now, so that's how much of a difference that safety car made.
But what do you reckon, Rhodes? Do you think these 3, Avi, RB Ferrero and Freeze, can take the fight to General Pepe? Because General Pepe already extending that gap to up to 3 seconds.
I feel it's going to be a very, very uphill battle for KDB to even get into the points. Oh, he loses rear end while we were talking about that, but him finishing P10 or above itself will be a huge achievement given what he's been through.
Design P16, and with the gap that's shown on my screen, P10 looks like a far-fetched dream, but he is going to try and get that fastest lap. He's gone into the pits. I wonder if it's a retirement or possibly coming out on the softs. VPA pits as well. General Pepe is still leading this race. That gap only becoming smaller, so clearly Avi's pace on the softs is possibly his best so far in this race. He's trying to close that gap to General Pepe.
Well, KDB is just serving his drive-through penalty, even though he might have gotten it without any reason, or he may have got it with reason, but anyways, he served it. He's at the back of the pack yet again. 1 lap down from the rest of the people.
Meanwhile, up ahead, like I said, the gap closed down to within a second. Avi trying to get the most out of each corner, out of his car as well. Trying to close that gap as much as possible. General Pepe leading this race with 12 lap hold cards. Time penalties all around, so after the race, a lot will be discussed.
Yep, this was precisely what I was talking about, that General Pepe has 3 drivers, 3 very fast drivers on the softs right behind him, and the total gap is just 3 seconds. So if those time penalties do get removed, then General Pepe had a masterstroke. If he didn't, then it's pretty risky.
Onboard Accelerate, however, whose gap is only extending to that of Freeze, and right behind him he's got an Alpha Tauri to worry about. Rusty Nish should be able to get something done on the main straight, should be able to get the position done, but Accelerate, knowing how Accelerate is, shouldn't be easy either. Rusty Nish being very careful.
And surprisingly, Sarthak, General Pepe has one of the fewest amount of penalties though. He's on 5 seconds while Avi is on 6 seconds. Freeze is also on 6 seconds. Only RB Ferrello can challenge him well enough because he has 3 seconds worth of time penalties.
Yeah, indeed, Rhodes, and after a brilliant move by Rusty Nish, an incredible late braking move, he's climbed up to P4. Sector 1 and 2 goes yellow, and I did see a car out on track. Off track, in fact. And I wonder who that was. General Pepe has fallen in position. He is running P8.
Well, that's not something you'd like to see.
That's precisely
those hards.
Uh-huh.
Yep, I think it might have been General Pepe who you saw off track.
Things go from bad to worse for Gouts as he's handed a 10-second penalty for corner cutting, and General Pepe is losing position after position, which begs the question on whether he has damage. Yes, he has lost part of his front wing and an end plate as well. So I wonder if there was an incident between the 2 drivers.
There might just have been. KDB also lost out on that long straight chicane. He, however, kind of settled himself and kept going, but this might spell disaster for General Pepe. even if he gets cleared of those 5 seconds worth of penalties, he still will have to fight to get into the points.
Pepe has gone into the pit, so I assume Gouts has retired from the session. Sector 3 goes yellow, but all eyes on UK as he takes the fight to only Cuppy. Now I wonder, did Gouts retire on track, or is he gone into the pits to retire?
Nope, I see him in the pits, so that was a safe retirement. General Pepe, however, served his 5-second penalty in the pit stop.
Meanwhile, UK gets that jump position from only Cuppy, and I stall my words because I'm still confused how to address this guy, because he's technically in the Williams team, he's in a McLaren out on track. I wonder how...
The way they were fighting, it looked like only Cuppy is representing Williams.
Yeah, clearly. And how confusing it might have been for UK to see another McLaren in front stall him. Because usually, from what I've heard, team decisions in McLaren are a lot made very wisely. I've seen UK let go of say to RC18. Often I've seen him in I went completely blank there, but anyway, what I was trying to prove was UK and Thor pulling off some good team strats as well. Ever so often that Thor shows up to track. But moving on, however, Avi leads this race in the final lap with Ferrello right behind and Freeze as well.
I think UK might just get into the top 5. There is some, but he does have 9 seconds worth of penalties, so he has no way of catching Accelerate and overtaking him in a lap to gain 9 seconds.
So this is where I'm gonna say, folks, before this race ends, let me be completely transparent. There's a huge chance all the podium finishers today might not end up being the podium finishers of this race after the stewards have reviewed certain incidents. That being said, I will announce the driver who does pop up on our screens as the race winner. So it does look like one of the top 4 drivers will end up being the race winner, depending on how much time penalties each one of them have racked up. But right now, Avi leads this race as he comes across the final corner of Paul Ricard. Avi has Ferrello to worry about right behind. How close have they been through the race? How much does the time penalties come into play? Ferrello currently finished as the race winner after time penalties. Avi still finishes P2, Freeze finishes P3, Nish comes across the line P4. UK doesn't get a jump in position. He in fact gets sent down to P6. Only Cuppy P7. Accelerate, however, does finish P5. Rocketman P8. P9 Big Man Joe. P10 The Avocado. Not for long, however, after time penalties, Gambler gets into P10. No, after even more time penalties, Baby Shumi gets sent into P10. General Pepe, the driver who led this race for most of it, comes across the finish line, will stay P13, which means, folks, Mr. Wex seems to have jumped up into the race win as well. I mean, if this is true, Mr. Wex wins for the first time in the Bwoah Racing League, and I have a huge feeling after time penalties have been deliberated, considering the fact that Wex was involved in those 2 incidents in the start of the race, we might just see this being taken away from him. Driver of the day, however, was Freeze, and I'm pretty sure that will stick regardless of what the stewards might say. But for now, we see 2 Renaults on the podium, and it's really disappointing to say that this result might be overturned after the stewards have deliberated. What do you think, Ruds? How much does Wex stand a chance of remaining the race winner after stewards have deliberated the incidences reported?
I absolutely have nothing to say that might, make his case, because, okay, first of all, there will be some people who will not be happy with Wex finishing P1, but even then, the penalties have just been so inconsistent that it's difficult to predict which ones stand and which ones don't.
And I think we can commend the stewards in advance for the job they're going to be doing after this race. They got a lot on their plate. You can see how much of a mistake this game has made. 18 seconds, 0.342 is what they're saying is the best lap time. Clearly not. However, the quickest lap out there was from RB Ferrello. So from what I can say, from looking at the time penalties right now, I'd say RB Ferrello might just be the race winner of the French GP this time around. But then again, we'll just wait for the steward's word on that.
My initial thoughts also point to RB Ferrello, if not anything. So I might predict an RB Ferrello, Avi and Freeze podium.
Possibly. We just might see that. But then again, folks, that's a wrap. That's your, I'd say, tentative race finish table right in front of you. But then again, a lot can be said post the steward's decision on a lot of the incidents that took place today. A lot of, the time penalties being handed by the game itself. So yeah, we just got to hold on and see what the stewards will deliberate. What do you think, Rids? What do you think will be the main talking point in that stewards discussion? Because I know you're a steward yourself.
I definitely feel that Vex will come out quite a lot in the conversations, and there will be some very heavy scrutineering for this race, at least, especially with track limits, as we saw a lot of action from those.
Yeah. I mean, I think both of us know where we're going after this. We're going straight to Gouts to talk to him. We won't be, of course, having it on live stream. It's just going to be a bunch of us talking together, because, I mean, he put that car on pole. I'd expect him to have like a clean lap at least before having lost that elusive race lead that he rightfully earned after that qualifying. But then again, I think Ferrello had the best of races. And I feel a bunch of the drivers, the likes of Accelerate as well, had a brilliant race too. What do you think, Ruds? If you would sum up this race, which one driver do you think really had a good race, a fairly good race?
It has to be Ferrello for me as well. Freeze comes a close second, but it's been very close between these two drivers today.
Yep. It's been an incredible race for the 9 of y'all who stayed till the very end. Thank you very much. We'll see you next weekend for race number 11. Until then, cheers.